The more centerpieces, the more money. L'agence, could you get me? What is happening, lovely people? Thank you so much for clicking on my video. It's Liza Live and welcome to my channel. Woo! So today's video we're talking about wedding venue hunting. I would say wedding venue hunting is one of the least favorite things that I did. Like, I didn't really enjoy that process at all during our hunting season. I really wish that we had a planner because it was just very overwhelming for me. I'm that kind of person that sometimes after clicking 1 or 2 3 4 I'm just like, yeah, I'm done. I'm just, please free me. But luckily for me, I had a husband who was just very patient and very thorough and was like, yeah, we're gonna get through this, babe, we're gonna get there. And he found the most perfect venue. So anyways, in today's video I'm gonna go through a few things that you should be considering while deciding your wedding venue. First things first is to do with like the venue's capacity, the layout, and this boils down to your guests. Will the venue comfortably fit your guests? Let's talk about it. If you haven't watched the other videos that I've made, make sure to go and check it out. But one of the things that we talked about as an assignment was to go off and discuss why you needed a certain number of people at your wedding. So by the time you're watching this video, you guys already know what your numbers are. Your numbers of guests will affect how much money you're gonna pay for your food. Another thing that is affected by your number of guests that I had to learn the hard way, because I didn't know about this, is also your decoration. But it makes sense when you think about it. The number of people that you're seating affects the number of tables, and the more tables, the more centerpieces, the more money. L'agence, could you get me? We'll say if you are of African or maybe Asian descent and you have really huge weddings, then a lot of these bougie, you know, riverside, garden, barn type of venues in the UK will probably not be able to accommodate your numbers. You'll be looking at places like banqueting halls. Unless the budget that you have for your venue is really huge, then you can look at places like the Grand Meridian. The next thing to look at will be your location and accessibility. Things like travel time, parking, accommodations, hotels around, especially if you have people traveling from outside of town. This is something that you really need to pay attention to. The venue that my husband and I picked had on-site accommodation that could sleep up to 66 guests, and so we could get ready upstairs, come downstairs for the ceremony, and then go next door for the reception. How convenient. The next thing I'll say is aesthetics. Guys, I loved aesthetics. I wanted something really grand. I was looking at high ceilings, all that kind of stuff, until we started looking at the budget. We started looking at prices, getting quotes. Then I had to really back in and go for something that made more sense. The venue that we ended up going for had much more shorter ceiling. Just remember that if you're going for a place that's really huge, then you have to do so much with decoration to make the place look really nice. If the place is already so pretty, you don't have to do so much to make it look really good. I mentioned banqueting venues. A lot of these banqueting venues already come with decorations. It's a really good go if you're into that kind of stuff, you know, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, because deco is definitely not cheap, guys. Also ask about chairs, tables, catering, all that kind of stuff, especially with people from the ethnic background. We tend to do dry hire a lot, meaning that you get the venue as it comes, no additional things, like they don't give you nothing, you bring in everything that you need. My venue, for example, it was dry hire, but it came with tables, it came with chairs, but it didn't come with tablecloths and stuff like that. So you need to ask loads of questions, read the contract, know exactly what the venue is offering, okay? And make sure to read all the little fine lines and blueprints, because some venues can be so cheeky and hide a lot of things from you. You're better off asking more questions than asking less questions. Do you get what I'm saying? Restrictions and rules is another thing that you need to think of. I have a mad story to tell regarding my venue about restrictions that we kind of missed. Noise restrictions, curfews, vendor policies. A lot of venues, they'll ask you to pick vendors from their trusted vendors list. What that means is maybe they've had a bad experience with other vendors in the past, or they just got really good business with these vendors on their list, and so they prefer for anyone to book them to choose their vendors. So our venue had that policy, and we really had to firm it because we had to consider our pros and cons, and in the end it made sense for us to go with them. Whatever background, they provide you a massive extensive list of people, and so what you're going to then do is go through that list and check who matches your budget, who can provide the kind of cuisine that you're looking for, and then you book them. So for our venue, for example, you're allowed to bring your vendor from outside, but there is a fine of about 2,000 on top, and when you work it out, it's just not worth the stress. They just make it to discourage you from bringing anybody from outside, so you're better off just going with their vendor. Noise restriction is the next one. If you're a party person, or if you just genuinely love music and love sounds and stuff like that, this is something that you need to make sure you inquire properly. Some venues will sell it to you by saying, oh, it's this, is that. Make sure you check properly. If you know who your DJ is going to be, then also speak to them. Maybe you can get an idea of what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. With the venue that we picked, we did a viewing during the winter. We decided, oh, actually, it would make sense to do the wedding outside. When we did the viewing, we knew that all the rooms came with speakers, but what we didn't inquire when we later on decided to change our booking, well, it wasn't really a changing thing. All the facilities are available for you to choose, so you can choose to have your wedding outside or inside. It's just a matter of just letting them know so they're prepared for it. But what we didn't realize was, if you were going to do your wedding outside, there aren't any speakers allowed, there aren't any microphones allowed, there aren't anything allowed. The speaker had to speak on natural voice, all singing, everything had to be on natural voice. The only instruments that were allowed were acoustic instruments, okay? We realized this like 2 weeks before our wedding, and so the whole ceremony had to be changed. Thank God for our church brother Malcolm, who took care of that for us. Like, I literally broke down crying. If you're booking a venue for their outdoor features, so like a garden venue, a barn type of venue that's outdoors, make sure you have a good backup plan. I understand your wedding is in August, your wedding is in June, your wedding is on the day that it has never rained on, but please have a backup. Things have a way of just happening randomly on your wedding day, and it's too big a day, it's too big an important day to leave things to chance. So if you're really going for a place for the outdoor feature, make sure that if it comes to rain, it comes shine, whatever happens, you're happy with the backup plan. For example, the venue that we went for, we really loved the outdoor vibes, and I'm so grateful to God that we had the chance to use that. However, I was okay with the indoor vibes as well. If it rained, the backup plan was making sense, it was giving royal kind of vibe, and I was okay with that. If you're booking a caterer, you're not just booking a caterer, you're gonna have to book for the people that are gonna serve the food, you're gonna book for people that are cleaning afterwards, you're gonna book for people that collect the rubbish afterwards. So ask your venue if they provide rubbish collection, or is that something that would come at an additional cost, or who covers those type of things. So these are flexibility and availability. Obviously, a lot of the popular venues get booked up pretty quickly. There's some venues that are even booked up as of 2029. Do you know what I'm saying? So if you're looking for those type of venues, make sure you're booking it really far ahead. Good tip I will say, if you can even afford to book a venue before you get engaged, do that, because things get more expensive as the years go by. Like each year, like when we got our brochure for our wedding venue, it literally is printed in black and white. 2024 price is not the same as 2025 price. You get what I'm saying? So it works out for you if you've booked it ahead. Obviously, it's a bit hard as well, because it's like, if you're not, you have to be really sure about getting married with your partner and everything before you get there. I feel like the ring kind of confirms it properly, so I see why maybe people might not want to do it. But if you're very sure and certain within yourselves, booking it ahead of time is so important. If you book it, say a year before your date, then you can do 3 installments of payment. If you book it 6 months before the date, you have to make half or only 2 payments. The less time you leave to book, you pay a lump sum rather than in split, to help you with your finances. So that is something to think of as well. Also think about your photos and lighting opportunities. Our venue was so aesthetically pleasing. Gosh, there were so many places that we didn't even get to rent because we ran out of time, but there's so many lovely, gorgeous places to take pictures. That is something that you should consider if you want really lovely pictures for your wedding backdrop, for your album, wedding pictures, all of that kind of stuff. Otherwise, you're forced to leave your venue to drive really far away to find a nice place for your pictures and drive back. That takes time, that takes money, because you then have to rent a car, all that kind of stuff. So the last thing I would say is trust your gut. Sometimes you know, people will be in your ears saying go for this, don't go for this, go for that, don't go for that. Make sure that whatever decision you make it together with your partner and you stick to it. Whatever decision you make, as long as you stick to it, you'll be fine. All these has to do with your white wedding. Now when it comes to traditional weddings, as you may or may not know, I'm Ghanaian and my husband is Ghanaian as well. So if you're Ghanaian descent or if you're African, we tend to do two separate weddings. We have the white wedding, which is the normal wedding, and we also have our traditional wedding, which is normally the knocking, where the husband's family come to seek our hands in marriage. And so we had to get another venue to do our traditional wedding. Now when it came to that, we were looking at community centers and sports halls and, you know, little venues that could contain a lot of people but didn't have too many rules and restrictions, because we wanted it to be very Ghanaian as possible. Initially we wanted to have like a garden type of wedding, traditional wedding, where we had like tents and it was all vibes outdoors and it was going to give as much a Ghanaian vibe as possible. But with the weather, the month that we're doing our wedding, and also the pricing and the outsourcing of things and everything, it just was giving too much headache. And so we did a viewing of quite a few of our community centers around us, and we ended up booking one community center that made sense. It was really gorgeous. It's fairly new. There was so much natural light in there. It came with chairs, it had a kitchen, and it was really good, to be honest. The only thing I would say is we had to take our rubbish away, so I don't know, at the end of the day that wasn't very nice. But yeah, and then obviously dealing with Africans sometimes a bit hard. Getting out on time was a bit hard, so we kind of got charged to clean, but that was something we were willing to risk. So that was to do with our traditional wedding. With the white wedding venue, so this is the reveal, guys. Drum roll. Boom. We went for Froyle Park Country Estate. Okay guys, we loved this venue. Some of the top reasons why we went for this venue, I would say the main one was the fact that we had our accommodation, we had our ceremony area, and we also had our reception all in one place. I can't stress to you how important that was for my husband and I. We had rooms that could sleep up to 66 guests. We had downstairs, there were 3 rooms, and then the outdoor, and then there was the reception, which was the great hall. Some people use it for their ceremony and switch it up to reception afterwards. We didn't do that. We just used it for our reception and reception only. They have a kids room for kids to play and watch TV. So I have 3 little nephews. My husband's family side, they have loads, I couldn't even count. And so even though we did say no kids allowed, we knew that there were going to be kids, family members, which was absolutely fine. And so we were very grateful for that room that was provided for the kids. They had toilets, very nice and clean, huge, downstairs near the reception. There was loads of parking available for the guests. If any of the guests were staying on site, then there was parking to the right of the entrance when you enter Froyle Park. All the vendors had a nice huge allocated parking place for them as well, for convenience, because the kitchen was huge. We were allowed to stock up some drinks in there the night before. There was a freezer as well for if you wanted some ice frozen. We had a walk-in fridge and a normal fridge, but you have to kind of speak to your caterer as well, so you don't mix up whatever you want to put in the fridge with the caterer stuff. That whole place is so picturesque. It's just so gorgeous, so beautiful, and it had all these fountains. It had all these like greenery, garden vibes, and it had like a nice area for the seating of the guests in the garden area. That walkway into the grand hall room for the reception is just so pretty. It's all white with a massive chandelier, and then the reception room was nice, lovely, cozy. We had 250 guests and it all fit so nicely in there. We would have loved to bring our own caterer, because we did have a deal with an auntie that could have provided food for us for a little bit cheaper, but unfortunately, because we really loved that venue, we had to go for somebody on their list, so we ended up paying a little bit more for food. In the grand scheme of things, it made more sense because we paid more. We also had caterers. We had people serving the food on a day, we had people serving the drinks on a day, we had people clearing up and helping us with those type of things at the end of the day. So it was really good. I really appreciated that, because that way my family members, close friends, they could enjoy the day with us without having to worry about, oh, we have to help with help serving, we have to help with this and that and the other. Everybody was able to relax and enjoy and be a guest with us, and that's absolutely what we loved. The guests that stayed in the accommodations all had like water and some snacks in their rooms. Before the day, we had to send a list of all the people that were staying, and what they then did was put each person that was staying there, their name and their keys in an envelope, and then put them on one side, and every guest that came in was able to collect their keys and go to their rooms to get settled in, and then came out for the ceremony when it started. That I found so brilliant. Like honestly, the customer service communication was so great. I was calling them 24/7. Every time I had a question, somebody was able to answer me over the phone. If they couldn't answer it, they would always pass on the information. I'd get an email, somebody would call me back. On the day runners, oh my gosh, like they brought me snacks as well. It's just overall was really great. There wasn't a time where I felt like I had any issues with them, so I would say 10 out of 10. From when we did the viewings, we went there a few times. My coordinator wanted to go and see the venue again. I went back in there again with her. They allowed us to come in as many times as we needed to. When they had an open day, we went in there. We went to go get a few drinks. We went to go speak to some of their vendors that they had on show. I honestly 100% love this place. It has so many pros. With Froyle Park, when you book the venue, you have to leave the next day by 11. But I did have some stubborn guests that stayed a bit longer, but they didn't make a fuss about it. They didn't come around chasing us out. They kind of just left us off to our own devices and we were able to leave. The only con I will say is the whole noise restriction thing. We weren't allowed to add additional speakers. We were only allowed to use their speakers, and I think it was only 2, and they weren't huge enough. And sometimes, especially with the reception, it was very, very distorted when we're dancing in. Our DJ really struggled, but he managed to make it work in the end. But aside from that, 10 out of 10 venue I would 100% recommend. If you have any further questions, please do want to leave them in the comment section. I'm happy to help you and answer your questions. If you do enjoy it, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I shall see you in my next video. Happy wedding planning. Mwah. Bye.